know your personal rhythms with things.
Yeah. So we're talking about the practical how to get to know your cycle. And we mentioned tracking it, and you can get as detailed or not as detailed as you want to be. But I also want to give some specific recommendations of books and even apps because, ladies, there are so many ways. If you like to write it down, you can write it down through a chart or on a calendar, or you can do it through an app as well. So I'll let you start if you want, honey, with some different books or apps or anything you'd like to share that can support the women out there.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'll say be willing to experiment because I started, like
Yes.
Jillian was saying, I started with that circle chart and did that for a while, and then I moved on to actually a printed out. I just Googled a printable calendar for each month and printed the calendar and set it on my dresser with a pencil so that that's where I could go every night. And that worked better for me than the
Mm,
chart. It was easier for me to write on and it was easier for me to see it in the squares rather than a sliver.
yep.
So just even that, yeah, just even that little thing. I would just write the name, or sorry, I would write the number I was on in my cycle. So day 6, I would write it under, say it was like today, July 17th, I would write the number underneath that for what day I was on my cycle, and then I write down whatever it was I noticed. So that's really easy. You can just Google a printable calendar, print it out if you like paper. And if you like apps or online, I don't actually use an app because I tried and I don't like it. But I have for years used something called mymonthlycycles.com, where you can,
Mm.
it's really simple. You just click the date when you start your period, and then it'll show you which number you're on throughout the month. And I just use that as a way to be able to log in and see where I'm at. Say if you're going to the doctor or whatever, and you need to know when your last period was. That's why I started using it. So that's so basic. Mymonthlycycles.com. There are, I'm sure, way more advanced now apps and things like that. But again, it's whatever's going to work for you and feels good.
Yes, and I'm so glad you said that because that's true. And maybe what works for you and feels good now will change next month or a week from now. So, like she said, play around with it. I love that you mentioned one of each way, basically digital and physical. And same here, we talked about the initial circle chart with the little slivers, and that is how I actually did it for those 8 or 9 months that I was tracking it. But I know there are apps out there like My Flow, FLO, and Natural Cycle and Life Period Tracker. Google, I mean, everybody has Google, or you can go on your phone and go to the App Store and look. There's a lot of free options out there. There are some, I'm sure, that cost money. The other cool thing, because apps are always developing, I noticed even with the app that I do use, which is through Daisy, which is a natural fertility tracker, which basically it's a device that takes my temperature every morning and then I can plug it into my phone. Not only does it track where I am in my cycle, but you can also now, or I can also now add notes as to how I'm feeling or whatever else. So again, you can get as detailed or as simple as you like. And even if you just have a calendar, like Angie said, and print it out, I did tend to like the physical form of it initially, and just being able to, as you mentioned, to see it and to write down the different things and to be able to easily look back on the different pieces of paper, the different calendars to see how things were the same or maybe how they changed was really supportive for me at the time. So make it easy, have fun with it. Do try it though, as Angie mentioned, for say at least 3 months. Give yourself that opportunity. And the other thing that we've talked about in probably just about every episode of this series so far, I think it really is cool when you can see how your cycle lines up with the phases of the moon.
Yeah. So if you can note that on your calendar, or most of the apps probably do say it, it is really
Yes.
cool to see. I tend to be on my in menstruation at the full moon, which I believe is called a red moon cycle, and then there's the
Mhm.
white moon for women who tend to bleed on the new moon.
Yep. So there's all different ways to find out, and it can flip-flop, it can change, which is also really fun to see when you have different like projects or maybe business launches or things going on. So have fun with it. And the other thing I just want to mention really quickly is even if you're just doing it on Google Calendar, there's a way to add the phases of the moon to it as one of the options. So that's really cool because I keep that up on my Google Calendar as well.
Oh, I'm glad
We
you mentioned Google Calendar. Yeah.
Yes, it
So
and that kind of makes it easy too.
yeah, I added that calendar when you go into the settings of
Yes.
your Google Calendar, you can add the moon calendar. And what I
Yes.
love to do now is for when I know I'm getting my period, I'll put it in my calendar as that all day event where it goes from day one of my cycle to around day 6. It'll say winter in my calendar, and I'll plot out my
Oh,
cycle for the whole month so that as I'm going to schedule things, if it's going to fall in my fall or winter, I'll take extra consideration as to whether I am saying yes to it. Does it make sense for what my
mm,
optimized energies are during that time?
I
So it's
love
right there. You
that.
can see it.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that. And I know we already only have a couple minutes left, but I want to throw out a couple book names. Please
Yes.
feel free to add Code Red, Game Changer
That's a great one
for
to
me.
start with because it's really fun by a
Yes.
sassy woman named Lisa Lister. She's a sassy British woman, and it's a really fun read.
She is awesome. She has a lot of stuff on YouTube as well, but it breaks down each phase. So that's really fun. And she is actually where we both got that
Mhm.
circle pie chart from that you can track as well. Wild Power is also another awesome book. And there's one super thick book out there talking, or excuse me, it's called Taking Charge of Your Fertility that is flippin' amazing too. So those are just a couple that I wanted to throw out there before we need to wrap up.
And I'll also share real quick the Optimized Woman. It's a great read after you read Code Red and Tracked Your Cycle for a while. Then you could jump into the Optimized Woman by Miranda Gray, and she explains, she breaks it down by the day, and has a really great way of looking at the specific energies of each phase in a different way.
Yes, knowledge is power. I've been talking about powerful throughout this whole
Yes.
series. Knowledge really is power. So you can start very simple, very elementary, as many say. And then I would be very surprised if you didn't get just more curious about it because you'll start to see how things can change in your life and why you're manifesting a certain way or feeling certain emotions at different times. So look it up, ladies. I would be hard pressed to say you would regret it in any kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let everybody know listening, Miss Angie, if you would, how people can get a hold of you and the very special offer you have for our listeners.
Yeah, so you can find me on my website is angieilg.com, ANGIEILG.com. And my email is there if you want to reach out and connect. And you can also sign up for my newsletter on there and a free gift. So, what I'd like to offer to your community is to the first 3 qualified applicants is a 60 to 90-minute breakthrough relief session where we'll dive in and we'll meet via video and dive in on your dreams and any obstacles coming up so that you can have both breakthrough and relief in those areas. So, if that's sparking something within you, definitely reach out to find out if you're a qualified applicant for that.
I want to be a qualified applicant. I feel so lucky to have you as my girlfriend. You ladies need to get to know this beautiful woman even better. You won't regret it. And definitely sign up for her newsletter. I said it on the last show. I'll say it again. It's one of the few emails that I actually open and read because you pour your heart and soul into it. And you're just
Thank you.
such an awesome, beautiful spirit. And if you want to get to know more about me, you can head over to my website, jillianbeth.love. You can get my 5 simple steps to leverage your feminine superpowers, find out other ways to connect with me. There's quite a bit of stuff over there. And as always, I want to just thank you all for listening and for hanging out with us during this series. We got one more show left, which will be for the men. So do pay attention or keep an eye out for that one. And as always, my desire is for each and every single one of you to be living your soul's purpose. Thanks, Angie.
Thank you too.